the best ministrations of your wife, you still look ugly.
All right, let's welcome everybody in. And I have to remember these words. I have to remember them right now. From mental chatter to things that matter. I love it. That might be my new mantra for 2021. What do you think about that? From mental chatter to things that matter, Mr. Bob Farnham.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. What a great show. I had to hashtag it again, another show to watch again. Yeah, that was really great. Thank you so much for sharing.
Well, you're welcome. Thank Christina. I did nothing. I just got the opportunity to sit next to her.
Hello. I'm just saying hi, Bob, and
hey.
Two Josephs.
Hey, Christina. I'm Joey. Nice to meet you.
Joey.
Great show. Yeah, I'll change my name here.
Yeah, I always worry when they call you Joseph. And because it does sound like you're in trouble, and then I think to myself, wait, am I in trouble too?
Yeah, it's like my mom.
That's why I go by Bob, because my mom calls me Robert. And if she says Robert Carl, then I am up shit creek. So when they start using that middle name, you're in big trouble.
Carl, that sounds like The Walking Dead. Carl.
You gotta
carry it.
Carl. Hey, we haven't discussed The Walking Dead because, as I explained to people, it's not really a show about zombies at all. It's a show about relationships and, and transformation and many other things. That's what I love about it. Although it is pretty gross sometimes, what they do. So you're obviously a Walking Dead fan.
I am. I've been there right from the beginning.
Wow.
I feel like it got a lot better the last, they seem to have lost their way a little bit. The Whisperers kind of brought us back to, I think, a good place and conclusion.
Yeah, it did meander there for a couple of seasons. The thing is, if you again remember how we talked about horror movies and the hero's journey, and the seasons that have the most intense villains are the best seasons of The Walking Dead. Negan, the governor, the Whisperers. I mean, so anytime our gang of friends have to go up against an unbelievable adversary, are the ones that have the most sort of dramatic and impactful drama.
I mean, I got to say, the episode, that fateful episode with Negan, with Lucille, with Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo. By the way, I've got to show you something. I think you will appreciate that I have Lucille with me. I have a little replica of Lucille.
Impressed.
But that moment, that Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, and then when he takes the swings and the second one, that is still the most shocking. That's probably still one of the most shocking moments that I've ever witnessed in any form of film whatsoever. And it's so funny how, and this is such a classic. I mean, this is a good topic for the after show, but how villains can become heroes and redemption, and whether you're rooting now for Negan or not rooting for him, and how we're always guessing. I've been talking with my son who just finally watched the Breaking Bad about, well, is Walter a hero or is he not a hero? Do you want him to succeed? It's funny how we're always left guessing and second guessing, and that of course is the power of great storytelling. But I'm sure there is an angle, a philosophical angle in there as I see Mr. Tom Morris has arrived, but he is off camera and off mic, which tells me he's either baking bread or he's typing notes.
Joseph, I wanted to show you, I asked you if the Play-Doh was in color, and there was this thing I was looking at online, and it's a whole exhibit that shows the statues, and they did forensic research to find like the paint that wore off, and they were actually, when they were made, in color.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I thought you were just joking with me. And I was
No,
like,
that's why I just saw this thing.
I was like,
I did too.
that was good for you. I thought that was.
Like, see, here's the way this thing works is, I don't know if you can see it, but you can scroll. You can show before and after. You can kind of see it a little bit, but you can see before right there.
Well, I'll tell you just on a that's fascinating. On a very completely different note, there are some augmented reality apps and in fact, I even was advising a startup. I don't know how they if they ended up making it, that actually uses augmented reality when going to ancient ruins, whether in Rome or Athens, where you can actually see what the building or what the complex looks like fully restored, or as if it was, in its original form. And that's fascinating to actually have it in front of your eyes.
That's cool, like holding up an old postcard in front of a place.
But it's just absolutely amazing. Like, imagine going to touring the Acropolis and seeing it in its original splendor. So hello, Tom Morris.
Hey man, listen, I've just had the most complete computer meltdown of my life. Hey Christine, I've just had my computer froze up, everything froze up. I couldn't get it to restart. I'm on an iPhone now. It was in car mode and wouldn't let me talk. So it's been a disaster, calling forth all my stoic qualities. And I'm about to get back on my computer with you guys, in which case we'll be able to actually do some philosophy in the after show.
I feel like he's lecturing us, like we're at one of his lectures right now with the forehead down in the middle. But Christine, I think he must have enjoyed you so much that he just literally probably spilled something on his computer. And
everything just totally crashed, right? Really.
Hey, Christina, are you...
with you in a second.
Is that like a DJ setup behind you?
Eagle Eye Steve.
Backgrounds are my
Right behind
thing.
me is our DJ booth. So Technics, turntables, CDJs, mixer, controller, and I think we've got a synthesizer. These two things up here are our monitor speakers. This is the controller up here. It's a custom built, like we built this whole thing. And this is, priorities. If any of you know DJs, they will be buried with their gear, right? So we have a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. We took the master bedroom and turned it into our DJ lounge. And the smaller bedroom is our actual bedroom where we sleep. And we are perfectly fine with these priorities.
I appreciate those priorities. That's awesome.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm the one who spins vinyl, and my boyfriend Mustafa is the one who. I can spin on digital. I just prefer vinyl, and my discography over the past I started over the past 20 years is vinyl, so I just stick with that.
How many people can you fit in there for a show?
So, this room is actually pretty, I would say a good solid 10 people, and everybody can dance, has room to dance. I mean, if we really packed it, maybe 15, 20, but we don't really, because neighbors, right? So.
Oh my God, the neighbors.
We've got great neighbors, and I think our walls are solid. And if you notice this checker, that is soundproofing. So we've soundproofed the room as well. We try to be considerate, and we don't blast it,
Yeah, I was going to say you could hand out Bluetooth headphones to everybody,
Yeah.
And then
There's a tech solution to everything. I'm here, guys. I finally gotten things to work.
Woo-hoo.
Hey, Christina. I mean, everything broke. My phone wouldn't even work. Nothing would work. So Play-Doh didn't have to worry about that, right?
Right.
So I have a question. Can I just blurt right in here, guys? Am I interrupting something, or are you guys?
Why be different than any other day,
That's
Tom?
true.
So
Good point. Good point. So what got you interested in this? What got you interested in philosophy to start with?
So, hindsight's 2020, right? So I think I always was, even when I was a kid, I was always into like going out into the woods and thinking a lot. And I was always very inquisitive. I just had a natural inclination. But what really happened was about 10 years ago, I was going through a really rough time. And it just felt like my life was like Groundhog Day every day, and not really that great a version of Groundhog Day. And I knew I needed something. My DJ career was like winding down. I wasn't really gigging out anymore. And I had a career, like I had a day job too. So I happened to be on a subway one day, and I saw an ad for the School of Practical Philosophy. And the first line was, jobs come and go, beauty fades, but wisdom and knowledge are forever. And there was something about that just was like, okay, let me take a class. And from the very first class, we started with Aristotle, and it was just, I was absolutely hooked. I was like, this is the thing that I've been looking for all my life. And I really took to it. When I was reading some Socratic dialogues, like the Apology, like I just thought Socrates was a total hoot. I thought he was hilarious. And I'm like laughing while we're reading, like the day he finds out he's being executed. And I'm like, this guy is so sassy. And my tutors were telling me, like, you're picking up on things that most people don't pick up on. And I just love it. I get to hang out with old, smart, dead people. It's really great. And I get to, try this stuff out in my life. And I can't imagine anything. I can't imagine my life without it.
Well, see, that's so good that you saw from the very beginning that, as I used to tell my students about this, philosophy is serious, but that doesn't mean it's somber. In fact, and Socrates is cracking jokes all the time, and so is Epictetus. I laugh out loud with Epictetus all the time, and Kierkegaard is hilariously funny. And okay, let's switch from that tradition. Let's look at Jesus in the New Testament. Nobody seems to know he cracks jokes all the time. He's hyperbolic, he's exaggerating, he's poking fun. And so wisdom, we have this, people think it's a special subcategory of wisdom, the trickster wisdom or crazy wisdom. No, that's been sort of the mainstream from day one, is that we make fun of things that deserve to be made fun of, often ourselves. And we try to bring people the alternatives, and sometimes we use exaggeration and sometimes we use humor. And my students, my freshman students, they loved the Apology because they would say to me, and this shocked me, they would say, Socrates was going to be let off if he would just stop philosophizing with people. And he said, as long as I live and breathe, I shall never cease to philosophize. And my students would say, I've never known an adult who valued anything that much that they'd be willing to go to death rather than stop doing it. This is like amazing. People in their late teens and early 20s were just shocked by this character who believed that, okay, morality, wisdom, and virtue are the core of everything. And if you do anything else without a foundation of wisdom and virtue, it's going to go wrong. Fascinating stuff. Good for you. Good for you.
I just want to say a few things quickly. First of all, it's always a good show when my guest mentions the idiot and the oddity. Did I get it right this time?
And Joseph Smith's pronunciation of the Iliad and the Odyssey, which is brilliant.
So that was good. But the other thing, Christina, we're here every day. So the difference is here you get to hang out with old, smart, alive people. And we have a lot of joy here every day. My third thing that I want to add, and then I'm sure I will let the Love Fest continue, which is you saw an ad and it changed your life. So the power of advertising. The question I didn't ask you, and we got a few advertising people that are part of our after show, is what did you do in advertising? What department were you in?
Sure. So I worked on the agency side and the corporate side, and my roles were mostly client engagement and strategy. I actually started the brand planning, brand strategy competency at the New York Times. And they didn't ever have brand planning or brand strategy before I actually decided I was going to start this department. And in actuality, I practiced, and it was Plato's allegory of the cave that was what helped me usher this new initiative and change within the organization. Like, I was just a marketing manager who believed in branding and brand principles. And I saw like this, there was no one really sitting down and talking about the New York Times brand principles or brand strategy. There was no strategic thinking in any of the advertising necessarily for the New York Times. And so it really helped. The allegory of the cave helped me talk about brand to people who didn't understand or value brand, to the point where I then, at the time, she's now the president of the New York Times, but at the time she was the chief revenue officer of the New York Times, Meredith Kopit-Levian, gave me the green light and my boss the green light to actually start exploring brand within the New York Times. But the allegory of the cave was like my soft place to land, because I realized in order for me to usher things through, I had to take people through the cave and get them to see the light around this new idea for this organization. So that's a little bit about my background in advertising.
No, that's fascinating. I mean, I've invited Tom, by the way, to if he knows any of these ancient or Stoic philosophers that want to come on the show, I would welcome them. But I'm just letting you know, if you do know any of these ancient philosophers, or even some of the modern ones, that Nietzsche guy. They're welcome on CoronaTV.
They'd be welcome. Okay, good. That's great. And what Christina just said is really important too, because a lot of people think philosophy is just about abstract ideas. But the greatest philosophers have had often their greatest impact through vivid images and metaphors, analogies, similes, various what we would call now literary devices. And they're always ways of sparking the imagination. And one of the points that Christina was making about jargon is that we kind of distract ourselves by labeling from the hard work of doing. And one of the things about metaphors that's so interesting is it works through the imagination. And the imagination may be the most powerful natural force we have to spark action. You see often people are sparked to get out of a bad habit because of a doctor telling them some bad news, or they go through a pending a divorce, or a colleague is investigated by the authorities, and it all of a sudden it sparks the dead imagination into gear, and behavior changes. Habits are so hard to change because habit may be the second strongest natural power, but the strongest may be the imagination. So the great philosophers, rather than being just abstract reasoners, were people who tried to spark our imaginations so that we would just have new ideas, but we'd have new habits of action as a result. Cool stuff.
You're bringing to mind Emerson's essay, The Transcendentalist.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of Emerson. Emerson talks about two different kinds of minds, the materialist mind and the idealist mind. The materialist mind focuses on data, argument, facts, and yes, that is an important critical aspect of the mind that helps us understand our world. But he also talks about the idealist mind, the one that taps into imagination and what's possible and having vision and wanting what's something that's better for the world, better for yourself, better for humanity, and really thinking beyond the materialist level. He said that we have these both these capabilities, but it's the idealist, the person who lives as an idealist, that is so critical to us being able to evolve and advance and progress and be good. And so, and to live in the materialist mindset only is a life that's sort of devoid of hope and meaning. And so, you know, I what you're talking about, Tom, with regards to philosophers really igniting the imagination. I mean, Emerson sets my mind on fire. Yep. And, you know, and that's what they are supposed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, the best biography of Emerson is called A Mind on Fire.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
And Emerson in his 60s was doing 50, 60, 70 talks a year all across the US when travel was even harder than it is now. And he sparked people's imaginations. He said things like, young men in libraries are so impressed by the older thinkers, but they just wrote their books when they were young men in libraries. I mean, just conjuring up this image of young men in libraries, it sort of gave the young folks listening to him this sense that, oh, okay, so I can think for myself too. I don't just have to let the old folks do my thinking for me, you know, and so you get self-reliance and my dad, who was in sales, his favorite author was Emerson. And so as a child, I grew up with Emerson stuff all over the house, you know, so, you know, we are advantaged if we can plug into that energy of the past. And what did Emerson do? He basically launched, along with Dickens and Mark Twain, Samuel Clemens, they launched the lecture industry that we know of today as the speaking industry. They were the first public speakers really in America. And they were so effective because, wait a minute, Mark Twain, wait a minute, Charles Dickens, what did they do? They told stories. And what did Emerson do? He was at his most effective when he was telling stories too about these ideas and how they need our arms and legs to get into the world. Cool stuff.
You know, I'm actually practicing Emerson this week. So every week, guys, just to explain, I'll hit the books in my library. And sometimes I do like this sort of like close my eyes and then put my finger in a book and see what it has to say. And then that's my practice for the week. So my practice for this week is actually an Emerson practice, which he says, insist on yourself. Do not imitate. And so this week is all about like catching myself in these thoughts about, you know, well, this person's doing that, maybe I should be doing that, or I'm not like at that level, or I'm not like that person, and having sort of these kind of comparison thoughts about it. And the choice of me doing this interview or this show today in my DJ lounge is totally my practice. Yeah. Like I have a green screen. I could have put up a backdrop with my book or something like that. But I remembered, do not imitate. And I realized, you know, where I feel most comfortable? I feel most comfortable near my DJ booth. So I'm just going to do the interview there and that's it, you know? Yeah. So, so yeah, Emerson's my practice this week. Do not imitate.
You know, and what you mentioned earlier about the material mind, the data focused mind wants to suck the authenticity out of all of us in chase of what we think the polls are telling us we ought to be and do, right? Like you say, we can see somebody else doing things differently and want to imitate them, or the data can tell us we need to do things differently. And the best thing we can do is just be ourselves, right? And you know, we're all we've all been on Amazon with your book already, so you didn't need to put up a green screen with your book. But by the way, Steve Garfield asked Plato in color. There he is on one of my covers. There you go. He's always available to us. I always keep books nearby, like Joseph Jaffe's great book of philosophy, Built to Suck. I always like to hold up a philosophy book here in.
All right, had to mute him there. Only Only out of love. I'll unmute him now. He can unmute himself. But brilliant response, Play-Doh in color. That was. I take my hat off to you, Mr. Thomas. Now, before we go, because we have 5 minutes left, it is that time of the Zoom after show. By the way, Christina, I'm completely making this up, where we talk about equipment. Sponsored by Bob Farnham and Leslie Laredo's green screen.
And look at Joey now. Joey, look at his equipment.
Well, Exhibit A is going to be Joey. Let's put him into Joey. That's a serious mic there. Buddy.
And look at the red guitar, man. Look at the guitars. You got to have guitars in the background if you don't have DJ
It looks like he's in a studio now. Is it? Wait,
yeah,
is that
you got to have stuff. You got to have music stuff.
He still has to figure out.
He's got a great microphone. Are you on mute? Come on.
No, he still hasn't figured out the mute part yet. You know?
This is my Apple background.
Your Apple background?
Yeah, so it looks like I'm from an Apple.
No, I just want to say that I am using a ring light for Steve Garfield for the first time ever. So there it is. I don't know if you can see it.
So if we're going to talk about equipment, I'll give you a tip to consider, and that is move the ring light 45 degrees one way or the other, left or right, and 45 degrees up.
Hold on.
And you won't get the rings in your glasses.
There you go.
So 45 degrees. So 45 right now,
mine's 45 degrees to the left.
So right now, what I should be doing is moving it off to like sitting just behind me. So it should be angled and angled. I can do that for you.
Yeah.
So can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can now.
We can now.
We couldn't before.
It's funny. I don't know.
That new
mic.
Use
my new equipment, but yeah, I just got it because I think, as I was telling Tom, my first podcast is Friday. And so I got all the equipment in, and yeah, I'm excited about it. And then I have my first interview about my book on Monday on a live stream with the Mankind Project. So that's going to be cool too.
That's good. Very good.
When you say your first interview, what, my interview with you doesn't count? You want another interview? What's going on here, Joey?
No, I was just telling Tom about what I have going on this week. So
no, I mean, but really, Christina, it's not usually boys with their tech toys, Tom, here in the after show. With us,
far from it.
Well, you forget that I used to be a DJ, so I am very used to gear talk.
Tech talk, yeah. Well, as philosophers of the history, it was only about togas and tablets. You know, it was nothing more complicated than that. Ring lights, that was, But this was great today. This was a great thing to get people talking about. You know, I've been trying to convince people forever that we're all natural philosophers. We all have worldviews, however good or bad. We're going to do it. Why not try to do it better? You know, why be bad philosophers? That's that's the easiest thing in the world. We can't escape being philosophers, but we can escape being bad philosophers, and that should be worth the try. You know.
Oh, I loved it. I grew up, my dad was he was a math major and a philosophy minor in college. And I found all his philosophy books one day in our basement. Wow. And I pulled them out, and this is college philosophy books. I start reading them, and I love them. And I took a philosophy course in high school, but I haven't done anything with it since. So this show, meeting Tom, hearing you, it's I feel like I feel home. You know, it just feels great. So,
that's so great.
I was listening to the whole show. I didn't get to type in anything, but I was glad I could join and meet you in person in the after show. So thank you.
You know, I love downloading the podcast of the shows, because a lot of the time, most of the time I'm here to see it, but when I want to hear it again, I just listen to the podcast while I'm doing dishes or driving or something like that. It's also
why I purposefully always read the comments on screen.
Good idea.
Because I'm thinking mindfully of the people that are listening to it, and I just don't have the time to do it. But one of the things I really want to be able to do is then occasionally, when we have an amazing after show like this one, but what I would do is I try and bring in the after show into the podcast, but it's more time. But Christina, we are here every single day.
Yep.
And
we have nothing else to do.
Actually. What
we've realized is how we've grown.
I just want to say, just want to say something. I want you guys to know, I don't know what's prompting me to say this, but you guys are a really great group of people. Like, I enjoy you. Like, there's such a nice vibe here. And I think this is also a testament to Joe and your work and your sensibility. But I haven't felt like super comfortable in a group of people in quite a long time. And I would love to come back and just hang out with you guys, because I think
that's what I did. Christine, I was a guest in July. I was a guest in July, and I won't stop coming back. And so,
no matter how much we complain.
No, that's right. He's brought every mute control known to man.
We keep muting
Can't
him.
get rid of me. You know, he's even got the baseball bat.
I've threatened him, buddy.
You know, so you come back as often as you want, because
it's fun
every day. You know,
Christina, not only
different every day.
Not only can you come back every day, and not only would we like you to come back every day, or whenever you want to, but one of the things you'll see in the email that I send you is you're now part of the Corona community. And so every Friday, that I mentioned it earlier in the show, previous guests are able to sign up, and I have up to 5 previous guests on the show. And so it's myself and 5 guests. And that show is not each guest has 5 minutes to present a topic and introduce it, and then we discuss. And then in between each one of them, I show the Corona Bite, which will be a 60-second highlight of today's show on that show. So hard to find the highlight because there were so many, but you'll just have to be surprised. Well, you'll see it later because I'll post it on Instagram and TikTok later. But thank you for those very, very kind words. It means a lot to us. And the reason why we are like this is really twofold. One is because we really are nice people, present company excluded, but everyone else included. But more importantly, we've been here for each other, and we've been here every day. And so we're almost like a show within a show, because you know, we've got the environmentalist, we've got the sales lady, we've got what we call the conservative, the solitary conservative. You know, we've got the recovering douchebag. You know, we've got.
We knew who it was, Joe.
Yeah, I know.
You might need to explain that one.
Yeah.
I'm not. I'm going to leave her guessing. You know, we've got Janice's iPad. We've got it really is. It's a dynamic that we treasure, and we're always open to expanding.
I just noticed I'm on the screen twice. Does anybody else see my name in another square?
Yeah, because
it's probably still your phone.
You have your iPhone still.
I couldn't get it to stop. That's one of my tech things today. I couldn't get it to stop. So it's you got rid of it, just.
Can I also invite Christina to invite more of her women friends, so we can diversify a little here?
Yeah, we usually have at least another a female face on this show, but not enough. You know, we need more.
Yeah.
So I removed you, Tom, but I think I also reported you. No, I just, I didn't mean to.
It's about time. It's really about time somebody did.
I didn't mean to. I didn't mean to. No, I didn't. I didn't report it. No, but I removed you just as a courtesy. But then it said report, and I was like, I don't want to report him. You know, he hasn't done anything wrong. All right. So we will be back tomorrow as I continue to discover my ring light and how to use it. And Joey continues to struggle with figuring out where the mute button is. But we'll leave it at that.
Well, no, let me ask you.